We do live in complicated times, do we not? There are a lot of problems besetting our nation, a lot of problems in life, in our culture today. There are lots of issues going on, all about the coronavirus, obviously, about race issues. There are problems about foreign enemies, Russia, China, and so on, and around the world. There are different things going on in our culture, gender issues, and different things changing, and not necessarily changing the way we would like them as believers in Christ. Complicated times. But then you stop to think about it. It's not really all that complicated. There's all these opinions out there, and then there's my opinion, which is the right one. So it's not really all that complicated. If everybody just followed my thoughts, then we'd be okay. I think sometimes, though, just think about the opposite of that. Sometimes I think we complicate things in order to muddy the water so we want to face the real issues. And Jesus had a way of cutting to the chase, getting right to the real issue. And he would simply contrast two options. One, the right option, and then the opposite. So today's scripture that I'm going to be reading is found in Matthew 7:13 and following. And I want you, as I read this, to look for the different options he gives. He only gives two in each of these. So just observe those, and we'll think about those together for a few moments here this morning. Chapter 7 of Matthew, verse 13 and following. I'll be reading from the New English Version. It might be different than what you see up here, but it's close. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction. Those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. Beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You'll recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the diseased trees bear bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a diseased tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus you will recognize them by their fruits. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. On that day many will say to me, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, cast out demons in your name, and do many mighty works in your name? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of lawlessness. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain fell and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house. But it did not fall, because it had been founded on the rock. And everyone who hears these words of mine does not do them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat against the house. And it fell, and great was the fall of it. And when Jesus finished these sayings, the crowds were astonished at his teaching, for he was teaching them as one who had authority and not as the scribes. Powerful words that the Lord has given to us there. Did you catch the different options, this or that? The first option is the option between the wide way and the wide gate, and the narrow gate and the narrow way. One or the other are the options that we have. Now, how do we understand what this wide way is all about? Certainly we want to avoid that, don't we? The wide way. Well, one of the ways we understand Scripture is to read it in its context. And so as we read further after he gives that statement of the wide way versus the narrow way, we learn some different aspects of what that is all about. He gives us the contrast, the option, either the good fruit or the bad fruit, in verses 15 through 20. Now please note that he is talking about false prophets. In other words, these are religious people who appear to be religious, but they've only got a bit of it, enough to make them dangerous. It isn't the real thing. These false prophets are missing fruit. They don't have the fruit of the Spirit within them. They don't have love and joy and peace and patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control. I missed a couple there, but you know those fruit. They may talk the talk that sounds religious, but they aren't becoming more and more like Jesus Christ. In other places in the scripture, it talks about how these false prophets, they tear down the faith. They question parts of the given faith that Jesus proclaimed and the apostles delivered to us. They promote division among God's people. And they are ungodly in their lives. Now, for those who follow the narrow way, they become more and more like Jesus. They go, oh, we're not perfect yet, are we? No? I hasten to add that my wife's nickname, when she just retired as a nurse after 42 years. And at work, they used to call her Perfect Sherry. And that's because she is very concerned about everything being right. All the details have to be right. And you want that in a nurse, don't you? So besides Sherry, the rest of us aren't perfect, right? But we're becoming more and more like Jesus. And the fruit of the Spirit is beginning to characterize us more and more. We're loving people. You know, in the middle of all this racial crisis, we're the ones that love people. We love all of them. Doesn't mean we agree with everything everybody says, but we love everybody. We want them to know Jesus. We want them to have eternal life. We're the people that have joy. Yeah, we have our ups and downs. Sherry and I had our shingles shot the other day and can't really raise our arms too easily. It kind of hurts. But we got joy, even in spite of the fact that sometimes we feel like grumbling a little bit because of this pain or that pain. We have the joy of the Lord. It's our strength. The second contrast that Jesus gives us is two claims. They claimed that Jesus was Lord. And the second claim was by Jesus, who said, I never knew you. Oh, that's the worst statement that could ever be pronounced of you and I. I never knew you. I never knew you. They were, again, these are religious people. They were doing wonderful things, works of the Lord, just like the apostles had done, praying for the sick, casting out demons.